A tropical paradise, believed to be a gateway to the stars. A remote landmass, home to enormous stone statues. And a mysterious man-made island that defies explanation. For more than a decade, Ancient Aliens has traveled the globe to explore some of the most isolated and enigmatic islands in the world. Now, we're going to take a look back at the top mysterious islands we've investigated. Islands that just may hold the proof that Earth has been visited by extraterrestrials. The North Atlantic, consisting of more than 6,000 islands, including Great Britain and Ireland. The British Isles are home to more than 72 million people. But these islands are also home to some of the most mysterious megaliths on Earth. The stone circles.
The British Isles is the only ancient culture to have built stone circles on a large scale. And it all began around 5,100 years ago off the north coast of Scotland. And then over a period of about another 100 years, the stone circle building tradition spread pretty rapidly throughout the rest of the British Isles, through England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland.
Stonehenge is the most magnificent stone circle in the British Isles. It's unique. It's unlike any stone circle anywhere on the planet. It's perfectly circular. It has astronomical alignments.
According to mainstream archaeology, stone circles like Stonehenge were constructed as elaborate calendars. But ancient astronaut theorists believe they served a more profound purpose.
It is true that Stonehenge can be used or was used as a calendar. There is no doubt about it. However, in order to create a calendar, there was absolutely zero need to build a megalithic structure as gigantic as Stonehenge, because you could have recreated the entire same thing by essentially placing ordinary sticks in the ground. And that was not the case. So what was it?
In 2019, authors Andrew Collins and Graham Phillips set out to investigate some of the most mysterious stone circles of the British Isles on the Orkney Islands of Scotland. This small island chain is home to Skara Brae, an ancient settlement that is over 5,000 years old. Now known as the Scottish Pohnpei, it was discovered in 1850 after a storm revealed the ancient ruins.
Just look at this place. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
It's pretty sophisticated. I mean, these walls here are really quite advanced for 5,000 years ago, when everybody else in the country was living in, well, mud huts, basically.
I know. And the incredible thing about this is the descendants of these people end up creating all of the stone circles around Britain.
Experts believe that the descendants of Skara Brae began building stone circles throughout Great Britain, including Stonehenge. But what compelled them to do so? Andrew believes the answer can be found at a stone circle near Skara Brae called the Ring of Brodgar, and its connection to mysterious lights in the sky.
We're here at the Ring of Brodgar. It is a henge circle, so all around the outside of it is a ditch and embankment.
One of the things that's been repeatedly found in connection with stone circles is that virtually every location is also somewhere associated with the appearance of mysterious lights, what we'd call UFOs. We're talking about Stonehenge, Avebury, the Isle of Anglesey in Wales. All of these locations, mysterious lights appear and then disappear.
Is it possible that the mysterious stone circles found on the British Isles were once used to signal otherworldly beings? ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and point to the fact that the stones used to build the ancient circles contained large amounts of quartz.
Quartz crystal can hold frequency or vibration. It can store energy, in other words. That opens the possibility that it has a technological application. We use crystals in computers and in radios and lasers, digital watches. All kinds of technology is based on quartz crystal.
It's been documented in the UK that a lot of these stone circles are associated with strange lights and UFO activities, and we have to wonder about the energy there. So it may well be that in some cases there's some kind of electronic magnetic signature that they put out that are beacons for UFOs.
In the center of the Mediterranean Sea, between Italy and Africa, lies a three-island archipelago that makes up the Republic of Malta.
Malta is this really small island nation just south of Sicily, and it's so small it's only 122 square miles in its entirety. But because it's a dead center of the Mediterranean Sea, Malta really packs a punch historically.
What Malta is most well known for historically is the incredible series of megalithic complexes there, created around 3,000 to 4,000 BC. They involve places like Tarxian, Hagar Quin, and a quite fantastic megalithic structure known as Gigantica. Now, this essentially means the place of the giantess. And the fascinating thing is beliefs on Malta that all of these structures are made by giants.
For centuries, visitors to Malta marveled at the island nation's ancient megalithic structures. But what no one knew until the 20th century was that Malta's most extraordinary construction lied hidden beneath the ground. In 1902, construction workers uncovered a massive underground complex carved out of the bedrock. Now known as the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, it is considered the greatest engineering feat of the Neolithic age.
The jewel in the archaeological crown of Malta has to be the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni. This is a remarkable structure, particularly when you bear in mind they didn't have metal tools. It's just mind-boggling.
Archaeologists realized that this was a huge underground network of chambers and corridors. You enter down into it, and there are a series of 3 different levels. All of them are interconnected with corridors and flow into chambers.
Soon after the discovery of the Hypogeum, archaeologists excavating the subterranean chambers found more than 7,000 skeletons. Strangely, a great many of them had skulls that were noticeably elongated.
It was found that some of the skulls were actually elongated. They were almost like the head going backwards rather than upwards. Does that represent the fact that they were doing head binding? They were pressed into shape when these people were babies?
Head binding has been a practice of numerous primitive cultures around the world. It involves tightly wrapping the heads of infants before their skulls fully harden, resulting in an elongated shape.
In my opinion, the smoking gun of this whole extraterrestrial question is the elongated skull phenomenon. Worldwide, in different museums, you find these skulls that clearly have an elongated cranium, and the mainstream explanation is that our ancestors did this to mimic their gods of worship. And right there is where it becomes interesting. because if they mimic someone, well, you had to have seen someone. So is it possible that whoever visited our ancestors back in the day had these elongated skulls? And my answer to that is a resounding yes.
Malta is one of these islands which is not understandable. Why on such a small island so many temples? I think they were extraterrestrials. They were a race of giants. The reality is extraterrestrials were here thousands of years ago. Extraterrestrials are here today. We are under observation.
Pohnpei, Micronesia. Located roughly 2,500 miles northeast of Australia, this remote island is home to some of the oldest and most astounding ruins of the ancient world, Nonfiction. It is an 11 square mile complex consisting of more than 100 man-made islets standing atop a submerged coral reef. Archaeologists estimate that to construct the site, the builders used 250 million tons of basalt, some blocks weighing upwards of 50 tons.
Nonfiction is this amazing construction. It's a full-on city. When pilots during World War II would fly over that part of the Pacific, they would look out their windows and they would see what essentially was described as the Venice of the Pacific. So that became one of its nicknames.
In 2019, ancient astronaut theorists Georgios Tsoukalos and David Childress traveled to the remote island to try and understand how Nonfiction was built.
This is exciting.
They were joined by Micronesia's National Historic Preservation Officer, Gus Kohler.
All right, Lou.
Hi, Gus. This is our guy.
How are you, Gus?
Welcome to you. Welcome.
And to get an expert opinion on the megalithic complex,
Follow me.
they enlisted UCLA Professor of Structural Engineering, Dr. Henry Burton.
Wow, look at this.
Amazing, huh?
That's amazing.
So here's this huge wall here full of prismatic basalt. How would you build that then today?
Well, you'd certainly need cranes, I can tell you that. Even for some of these smaller blocks, you're talking about on the order of tens of tons.
So how would you build this if you didn't have any cranes?
It's a mystery to me. I can't imagine how it could be built without cranes.
So Gus, what is your tradition of how they built these walls?
Well, according to our oral history, these rocks came from the north. We're in the southeast, this area is the southeast. And in fact, the recent studies has been able to collaborate that 40% of these rocks actually came from the north.
Recently, a growing number of scientists have become convinced that the basalt used to construct Nonfiction came from a volcanic outcropping 25 miles northeast of the ancient site. But how were the massive stones transported over such a long distance? To investigate, the team traveled to another site on the island that is said to have belonged to Nonfiction's original builders.
So Gus, what is then the oral history of moving this stone on the island?
Well, according to the legends, the stones were flown up here. Rocks were brought from the north and they were flown up here.
For generations, the people of Pohnpei have told the story that Nonfiction was built by strange visitors through a process of levitation.
Well, we have in the oral traditions story about two brothers, Olusopa and Olusiba. They managed to construct what you know today as Nonfiction. According to oral histories, the stones flew to the Nonfiction area.
According to the tale, the basalt was carried by what the natives referred to as a giant bird.
There's one story that says that at some point there were these giant roosters that lived on top of that mountain, and this rooster took these basalt blocks and flew them over to Nan Madol. Now, monster roosters do not exist, so my mind always goes to misunderstood technology, machines that were provided by the extraterrestrials.